What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and I'm here today with the review for How to Get Away with Murder, Season 6, Episode 8. So, you guys, one more episode into the mid-season finale, and I do apologize that this video is late, but unfortunately, I have food poisoning, and it is kicking my ass. Something deadly serious. But without further ado, this episode's title, I Want to Be Free, by the way. So, without further ado, you guys, let's go ahead and just jump into the video. Alright, you guys, so the way that I'm going to start this is I'm going to start it out with where the episode opened. So the episode had opened, we saw Annalise, she was walking into the class, and she gave the kids a case for their final exam. And what they have to do is they have to give their the best defense. Now, whoever gives the best defense will win that money, that $64,000 that nobody claimed last season. So the case is about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So what the prosecution is alleging is that Snow White, she manipulated the Seven Dwarfs to push the evil queen off of the cliff. So the first person up was New West. When he got up, he said that he would basically put his client on the stand, and then at least questioned him, like, why would you put your client on the stand? Which, even I thought about that. Why would you put your client on the stand? What is she gonna say? That I didn't understand. Like, what is your client gonna say once you put her on the stand? So then, who was next? So Asher, he's next. So Asher says that he wants his client to plead guilty. And Annalise is like, so you want her to go to jail, basically. He says what he'll do is he'll plead for immunity. And Annalise is like, but one of the doors has already did that. That's why the police got the information that they got. That's why the police have as much information on her that they had. And he says that he will argue that, one of the doors was basically threatening her. So it was like either kill or be killed. I'm like, okay. So then we have Michaela up next. And Michaela says that she wants to introduce a new suspect, the king. And then Alicia's like, so the king killed her? She's like, yes, the king killed her. So let's talk about this real quick. So Michaela, once they got out of the classroom, she was looking on her, I guess, IG, looking at some photos of her in New West. And then Asher comes in and he asks her, like, what happened? She said he called me a hypocrite. And once, Ash tried to defend her, he wants to defend her, and then he tried to kiss her, and she says, go home. And now I'll explain what happened with this a little later about the hypocrite thing with Michaela. So then we have Connor. He's up next. So Connor says that he wants to fight the charge itself and says that the dwarves did it on their own free will. And, he's talking about how Snow White has this great, impeccable record, so he can argue against that. I'm like, okay. Interesting. Those were some interesting takes. But at the end of it, Annalise was thoroughly surprised that no one actually got, got it right. And Asher finally got it. Because Annalise said that the queen did it. And they were like, how could the queen do it? What happened is the queen faked her own death. So nobody ever pushed her over the cliff. She faked her death. And I'm like, oh, I did not see that coming. So then it made me think to myself, I'm like, I wonder if Annalise could have known the whole thing is who killed Annalise. I'm like, I wonder if Annalise faked her death. That would be interesting. But now we're going to move on, you guys. Alright, so next it jumped 1 week earlier. So we saw the governor. And the governor was given a press conference about the wrongful death case, which, she says it has nothing to do with her. And then, it was all Emmett Crawford's doing. And I'm like, oh, okay. If you say so. And then, she feels like Bonnie is going to lead Nate astray. And Bonnie says, I'm filing what did she file? She filed a conflict of interest. That's what she filed with the court. Because you guys know she was messing with Miller. So it could be a wrong. So, she has a conflict of interest there. And then we see the kids, they were watching as well when they should have been studying, but they were down in the dumps about themselves. And we'll talk about, them a little deeper in just a few minutes. So then we see Annalise, she tells she's in the parking garage. I'm like, this parking garage is creepy as shit. But she tells Bonnie congratulations, and Bonnie's like, but Nate was gonna do it with or without my help. And she says they killed Emmett. Like, I don't want them to kill you. And they killed Emmett, and they almost beat Frank to death. And then Bonnie tells Annalise that I thought you would want to be proud of me, and I'm like, aw. Annalise, she just wants your approval, basically. Um, and then in that parking garage, this woman is so creepy. We see Xavier's assistant. I'm like, girl, why don't you go the fuck away? So then we see Frank. He tells Annalise that maybe they should, sit this out and let Bonnie, do her thing at the court. And Prey Miller still stays guilty. And she says Prey Miller stays guilty. She's like, "Is this? Have you?" She says, have you gone back to being in love with Laurel?" And then he tells her, "Hey, you're not 100% over Nate either." And he tells her, "Hey, well, Bonnie filed a waiver because of her conflict of interest with her huge conflict of interest with Miller." And Annalise says, "Well, we have to make it sound worse." And then she says, "Give me her phone records." All right, so in court, the prosecution and Bonnie are there, and the prosecution is putting into question Bonnie's conflict of interest, and she said, well, my involvement with Miller is not going to affect this case. They said, no, it's not your involvement with Miller, it's your relationship with his mother. And then we see that his mom is there, and she gets to understand, and she testifies. So then we see that they kicked Bonnie off the case, and then Tegan stands up and she's like, I'll be his attorney. And then they didn't want Tegan to be the attorney, but Tegan like, I don't have a vetted interest in him like that. So Tegan is now on the case, and then Frank calls and tells Annalise that as well. Now, also Connor, he went and told who did he tell? Who did he tell? He told the kids that Bonnie got kicked off of the case, and now Tegan is on the case. And then that is when Oliver comes in trying to cheer them up with their admissions essays. And I'm just like, oh God, Oliver, go away. Go home, Oliver. So, let's see where we are. So, let's see, where am I at? So Tegan, she's with Bonnie and she's with Nate. So they're trying to come up with a strategy for the case. Now they want to put the governor on the stand first, and Tegan's like, absolutely not. We are not doing that. What she wants to do is put one of the guards on the stand, and more specifically the female guard. And Bonnie's like, you can't do that because when I offered her immunity, I wasn't able to do it because I got fired from the DA's office. So we need to put the governor on the stand. And then they were like, she's like, show her. So, and Nate questioned her about, so you're back on this, but I thought you were so worried about Cora. She says, yes, Cora is on a detail she's on assignment and she has detail around her, so I'm not worried about that. So then they show her a photo of the governor's van outside of Ron's apartment, and this is just days before little Nate was murdered. So then we see Annalise, she's talking to Tegan, and she's telling Tegan like, you're gonna lose that case. And she's like, so where's your concern for Cora? And then she tells her how her family died in a plane crash, and that Jorge helped her, and she can't really tell what he helped her with. So then she also says, she doesn't want to be under any man's thumb, and she just wants to be free. So then we also saw Annalise. She's having a date with Robert, who is surprised. She's not working with Tegan, and she says, she doesn't believe that the case is winnable. And she says basically she's staying off of the case because, when she did the class action suit last season, he got killed because of her. So she's steering clear of that. So then we also saw Bonnie. She was taking down all the stuff that she had in her apartment, her house, and she says Tegan is gonna come. Send a messenger to come pick up this stuff. And then Frank tells her that his mom doesn't know her. Talking about Miller's mom. So then we see Tegan. She's on the stand. Well, she's questioning the governor, and she asks her about the car, which the governor can't explain. But then the prosecution can't explain that because she fired her aide because her aide was allegedly using her vehicle. And I'm like, wow. So this bitch will sell anybody out. And Annalise said that. Like, she sold her aide out. So Annalise tells him, like, stop going after the governor and go after Miller. So what they want to do now is they want to put Bonnie on the stand. And I'm like, okay, I guess I can see that. So let's move back to the kids. So Connor, once again, he's telling Asher this time that they're gonna put Bonnie on the stand, and he feels like this case is gonna get blown, and Nate will get no money out of this. And I'm like, so basically, the only person that you're worried about, Connor, is yourself. Is that what I'm safe? Is that safe to assume that you're just worried about yourself? Okay, moving on. Now, before we move on, let's talk about this one scene real quick. So, New West, he was talking to Michaela. So he asked her, is she with Asher? She says, no, I'm not with Asher. When I told you that I want to be single, I meant that. He said, now I've heard that you had a man this whole entire time that you've been in law school. She says, who told you that, Peyton? He says, yes. And that is why he called, so when I said earlier that he called her a hypocrite, this is when he called her a hypocrite, because allegedly she wants to be single, but, her record up until now doesn't prove that she wants to be single. She's been with a guy this whole 6 years that this show has been on the air. All right, so let's move on, you guys. Let's talk about Connor. Let's just get this out the way. So Connor, he was telling Oliver that he was basically annoyed with him, pulling up the essay, the admissions essay, and Oliver is trying to give him encouragement because Connor is down on himself because he feels like, hey, I'm a bad person. I told you I killed Sam, and nothing has really changed at this point. Well, I mean, you weren't a saint when you got with him. Like, you seduced him to help you, so it's not shocking that you killed somebody. I mean, look at how many people have died around you guys. So there's no surprise that, you killed Sam. I mean, that started everything off. But that's not a big surprise, you guys. Not to us. Moving on. All right, so let's just wrap up the kids. I should have did that. So the last part is Oliver, he, got the kids some dogs, and he wants them to have a puppy party. Like, you can't be sad when there's puppies around, which I agree with. You can't be sad when there are puppies around. I cracked up laughing at Asher. All my bitches love me. All my bitches love me. I'm like, really, Asher? Asher is annoying at sometimes, but other times he's hella funny. But most times he's annoying as shit. Most times he's like so super annoying. I don't know what to say about Asher. Sometimes like I said, sometimes I like Asher. Sometimes he's just there. He's just atmosphere that I would love to get rid of. Damn, Asher. That's the same with all the kids. First would be Asher. Nope. First would be Connor, because Connor is annoying. Then, oh God, that's a hard one. Because they all have their own annoying little quirks. Asher, Michaela, and Connor. I think the top two is Asher. Nope, top two is Michaela and Connor. Moving on, you guys. All right, next, you guys, we have Bonnie on the stand, and she's testifying against Ron. Now, she says that she got some info from someone, and they were like, well, who's that person? She's like, I can't get that information out because when she was with the DA's office, she offered the person immunity, and she got fired. So she says, if you want to hear this person's, if you want to hear from this person, what I need you to do is grant her immunity. So Tegan says, if they do give Gladden immunity, they will plan. And then Frank tells Annalise, and she tells him do whatever he needs to do, because we remember Frank, he strong-armed the woman to do what he wanted her to do last season. So then we see Annalise is on the phone. She's trying to get Bonnie to come over. She says she'll cook for her, and Bonnie says, I've already had dinner and I'm good. So, and then she also tells her, like, ignore whatever Frank told you. And then she mentions how, hey, Frank told me that he wants to be with you. What do you want? And Bonnie's like, I don't know what I want at this point. And, we also saw Xavier's assistant. She pulls up on the side of Bonnie. I'm like, I want somebody to shoot this bitch. So then Bonnie, she's driving, and she's trying to hit her brakes. And she's like, Annalise, my brakes. So then, Frank, he's following Gladden, and then he gets a call. So then we see Annalise and Frank there at the hospital. Annalise is like, we should turn ourselves in because they're gonna try to kill us. And then, you know, Frank, the doctor comes out, he says, is she dead or not? I'm like, wow. Not, is she okay? But Bonnie's okay, and the doctors just want to keep her overnight for observation because I think she had a concussion. And then, you know, he tells her that, Frank tells her he loves her. And then he basically tells Nate, like, don't put her in any kind of danger. Again, I'm like, well, this is not entirely Nate's fault. This is actually Bonnie's fault. Bonnie didn't have to jump on that case, but she did anyways. So then we see Frank, he's talking to Gladden, and he threatens her. And we later see her on the stand. So Tegan is grilling Gladden, and she says that it was Xavier Castillo who ordered the hit on little Nate. I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, wow. So then we see that, Nate was offered $10 million, but there's a caveat to that. If he accepts that $10 million, he won't be able to sue anyone else that is involved in the case. And Nate, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to know what his options are. And Tegan is like, well, we can ask for a continuance, but that'll give the governor time to do stuff. And then also that could, if they can get him time to look into your, your background. And if they find out that you killed Miller, this might not go the way you want it to go. But he doesn't care. All he wants is to take the governor down. And then we see the governor, and she's giving another press conference. I'm like, this bitch loves press conferences. Kind of similar to, that asshole that's in the office now. He loves rallies. So then lastly, we see Annalise, and, she's cleaning she's wiping her hard drive on her computer. She's doing all this stuff so that she can get ready to leave. So then we see her, she hops into the back of a car, and she zooms off. So I'm like, what the hell? So I don't believe that Annalise is, I never believed it. When I saw who killed Annalise, I did not believe that. I figured Annalise might have faked her death, but next week is the mid-season finale, you guys. So be sure to like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification button, and also share this video, and I will see you guys later.